Oh no.
All right,
Oboro.
we have Yurtz versus Ultimate in round 4 of Orange Crystal. We have Oboro and Yuri. Yurtz is on Oboro, whose mainly objective is to temp out a lot of low costs and then class change through her promotion skill, being the only card in the game that is a non once per turn draw, pretty much. And then we have Yuri, who is just the brown crest power recycler. They have the ability to, anytime they want, pretty much, to reveal the top card of the deck, and if it's a crest power, add it to hand. Obviously once per turn, but yeah.
One of the things that I find interesting about this matchup in particular is the way that Yuri interacts on his cost 1, where he causes support skills to fail
Yeah.
against him, and how that interacts with a lot of Oboro's early game pressure via her attack emblem archers. She doesn't get quite as many free hits against him as she might with other MCs.
Yeah.
It's a small thing, but it helps him out here.
Also, stopping the Keats early can also be a very good thing for him. Just because not Violet, Oboro is very reliant on the support skills, just because the old attack emblem for archers was only in the first few sets. Then they stopped making it. But Oboro is just running all of the white attack emblems archers they can get. And same with the Manakete for white. It was only done in set 2, and Oboro is also running it. So she's just running a lot of the old retired support skills. And we have an immediate Byleth CP.
Turn 1 Byleth Crestpower going second. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that,
I
but
don't.
it's not inherently a bad play, but we'll see.
It's just it doesn't help you hit because Oboro is usually going to dodge no matter what. Even if the attack misses, they'll sometimes dodge it. On defense, yeah, I guess it helps you against the Oboro, who's likely going to be swinging his 80, but you're only 70, so you get hit. I
Yeah,
think it only protects you
if
from the 2-1 costs that are about to be deployed.
indeed, if I'm in Ultimate's position, I think I would Byleth Crestpower on turn 2 instead, as that potentially, depending on Obro's deploys, allows you to hit through her on her turn 2 when she's promoted.
Yeah. Yeah, if you bridge and whatnot. Honestly, if Yurtz has the option, playing Automation is probably the best bet here. Automation being a cost 2 that that taps 1 cost on your opponent's board. The reason why you'd want to do that is because a cost 1 isn't going to hit, generally speaking. So there's no reason to deploy cost 1s, and Automation still being an archer will still give Oboro her plus 10 attack buff.
Yeah. Alternatively, you can play a Takumi one to threaten a Takumi class change on turn 3.
Yeah.
That's
You could
like
always
the
just
other
do the
thing
normal
that you
standard
have.
stuff like that, yeah.
Why does Oboro want to run so many archers?
It's mainly because the attack emblem, it makes it a 40 support on offense. So she's
Oh, okay.
running so Takumi is a good card. He has 60 attack. His skills are good, but he's only 60, so he's not going to hit things consistently. But if you have an attack emblem archer, that 60 is now swinging for 100 if you hit it. So they're running Takumi, Karagi, and Setsuna that all have attack emblem. So they're 20 plus 20 on offense as supports.
Oof.
Yep.
Um,
Oboro also runs the bow cards because on her promotion, as you'll see her go into very shortly, she gets plus 10 attack during both turns if she is a bow ally.
yeah. So because the attack emblem makes them the best cost ones, because they're just better, and then you also have the ability to get plus 10 if there's a bow ally, you might as well use them because they do 2 things for you. They give you plus 10, and they're better supports. Also, things like this Takumi gain plus 10 attack if you have an ally with a deployment cost of 3 or higher. So this Takumi is actually 40 attack. So it's even the best cost 1 just by skills alone. Granted, that 40 attack not really going to matter much unless they actually hit, because the attack emblem's gone. So this would normally swing for 80 in total. But because Yuri is disabling that, it's only 60.
Mm.
Which means even if Yuri selfs here, this still whiffs.
Yep. Yep.
Wonder why they deploy the Kana so early. Is this swing?
The Kana helps, but that's only on turn 4 and afterward, when you get 4 bonds. It's completely useless right now. It's actually now what Yuri should attack. If Yuri was to promo and they can hit the Kana, you should do that. Just
I
because
wonder
you,
why they deployed it now though.
they
It's,
might have just saw they have 2 deployment points, deploy everything they can.
I don't know.
Ooh.
I kind of
All right,
trust
that misses.
hand size.
Oh, yeah,
I
that
mean,
actually
not
misses. Okay, that Byleth CP actually kind of helped, but it still might not have been the best choice. Um,
I mean, Violet's CP turned. It blocked 2 attacks,
yep,
which is positive value.
yes. It did its job surprisingly. I just wasn't expecting it to find good value at all here. Um, but let's see, does Yuri have bridge? Because bridging is pretty much the major thing you need to do against Oboro, so her low costs don't hit you as much.
Other thing that you'll notice with Yuri in this matchup is that Yuri, for the sake of consistently getting his crest powers off the top of the deck, won't tend to run many 1 costs, and that's the other thing that you would try to do against Oboro, is you would try to clear her 1 costs to avoid taking too much heat. But for Yuri, that isn't as much of an option because he typically runs very few low costs.
Yep.
So
Because Yuri's draw skill is reveal top deck and it has to have a CP skill, 1 costs traditionally do not have CP skills.
alright, there is the bridge.
Yep. Alright, now hopefully they go for Kana here because attacking Oboro doesn't give them much. Your Oboro might take an orb, but Kana staying alive will become a 60 if they ever hit a keyed emblem in their upcoming turn. Keyed emblem obviously being the mana keyed emblem that ramps extra bonds from hand. But I'm not sure what they would be thinking about. They might actually be thinking about using Yuri's skill, which is bad Mage Emblem twice, which is discard 2, draw 2. It's not as good as Magic Emblem normally, because Magic Emblem is usually the draw then discard, so at worst it's your hand stays the same. In this case, because it is discard first, it can hurt your hand. But if you don't have main promo, there's pretty much no reason not to do it.
What are the benefits of running a brown MC?
Brown has 2 of the single most powerful cards in the game, in my opinion. Which is Byleth Mail, and Sothis. These are both crest powers, or CP skills, that only can only target brown characters. So what Sothis does is it gives your main character Divine Pulse. Divine Pulse is whenever your character misses, they can just untap once per turn.
Oh.
So it pretty much just makes it so you have another 70 attacker always. Even if you don't deploy anything, you get 270 attacks. It's quite nice. The other one is the Byleth CP that we saw turn 1, which is discard the Byleth, give a brown card plus 30 on offense and defense. It just makes you almost unkillable all the time if you can just consistently be 100. Just because 100 usually just doesn't get hit.
Yeah.
So
right.
Alright, so yeah, this automation is only 50 attack, so already missing, because that Oboro support is not that great for him.
Yep. Takumi could hit here on an attack emblem. Setsuna is usually safe. Ooh, that's a self, but it still misses.
Yep, that
as you mentioned.
Any other support in Oboro's deck would have made this hit, including the other Oboro. It was just specifically this card.
Yeah. Wait. I see the arrows going through the face of the automaton.
Yep. Wait, is it?
Yeah.
I thought it just faded out there for a bit.
Yeah, it fades out,
Yeah.
so you
It's
get
a
a good look
fade,
at his
okay.
face.
Yeah. It's just like foreground wasn't needed to clearly see the automaton's face. So.
Ooh, Takumi self.
Yeah, Takumi selfing. This is actually not looking that great for the Oboro because she usually wants to do a lot of early pressure with her Free promotion. But
This is another whiff, no matter the support.
yeah, and another self. So
Ooh.
I mean, getting rid of the 3/2 Yuris right now is a very good thing for Ultimate, just because that means that when they actually start trying to draw, they're not going to hit selves. But that is a crit.
Yurtz critting on a 2-card hand, really wanting to put the pressure on now. Which,
yeah.
understandable. It's what Oboro needs.
What the? Yurtz, are you okay?
He's flipping it.
But he really liked flipping that card.
Yeah, it was just like, okay. Alright, so Ultimate deciding to not take the orb they peaked with Linhardt. Yurtz still having struggles at whatever they were doing. So chances are what they were doing is they were holding control and clicking the card, which should flip. Sometimes randomly Lackey will consider this a double flip. But usually you just fix it by doing it again. Yurtz was just having a lot of trouble with it.
Not sure why they were flipping it though. Let's just go straight to retreat.
Yurtz,
Oh.
were you having that much trouble? So now they're going through
no.
Yurtz's retreat to try and fix their flipped bonds, their flipped cards.
Oh,
Alright.
your cards can be flipped the menus as well.
Yes, you can technically flip it. So like in your hand, you can flip a card face down. It'll say it's like flip face down in your menu, and then when you play it on the board, it'll spawn in face down. That's why you're supposed to do it. But that also affects retreat, that affects orbs, that affects decks. So you can technically flip a random card in your deck, and then when you draw it, it'll just be drawn face down. And then you have to flip it back face up in your hand. It's...
Wonder what...
Yes.
I wonder why it's not used for board peeking though.
For...
Wouldn't that just be easier just to flip like a single orb card on the menu?
So the issue with that is, if you notice, orbs, you know how there's those little dots underneath the other zones? What they mean is if there's 2 green dots, that means you can see everything in it. If there's 2 red dots, that means your opponents can see everything in it. So that's why retreat, boundless, and face-up orbs are treated that way. If there are no orbs, you cannot see a single thing in there, no matter what. So if I was to go to orbs, hit flip a card, it would not be flipped face up. It would actually be flipped face down in the orbs. And it would still not be visible.
Okay.
It's kind of like you're flipping the card face down, but then the zone still takes priority and says no one can see it anyway. So all of our cards in your deck are technically face up. They're just face up in the deck zone that no one can look at. It's hard to talk about it, but it makes sense and it works.
I think they're running into a bit of an issue.
Yeah, they're kind of... They really didn't like that the flipped card thing. I don't know. To me, it just made complete sense, but...
Can Yurtz not see his retreat?
They're gonna try and... Guess they're gonna try and reload the game.
Yeah, apparently I should have stopped recording this. Usually I do that when there's a break. I did not expect a break here.
Oh,
Alright, click the game, spectate.
what are the question mark units? Just looking at the card editor, deck editor.
Oh, those are Morgan. So it's
Mm.
one of the DLCs of Awakening was like Days of Future something.
Days of Future Past? I can't
That's what I was
remember.
thinking, but that's an X-Men movie. Um,
Oh.
anyway, it's there's a DLC where you pretty much go into like Lucina's timeline or something, and then the Morgans are the bosses. The issue is those Morgans don't actually technically have a name. So Cipher
Oh,
did the same thing. If they are evil Morgans, they're technically named like Disciple of Grima or something.
that's one thing I missed. I haven't played DLCs for Awakening.
So yeah, in Cipher they are question mark question mark question mark because they're unnamed Morgans. Is the best way to put it. That's why their first skill is like you can class change this on top of a Morgan.
Oh, look, another self.
Yep, Bolthus.
Balthus Crust Power in Yuri. Interesting.
Until the end of this turn, all brown allies gain +10 attack. Okay, so board buff.
Discard one for a board rally.
It's
Guessing that's
not
her final kill.
the worst. I
Yep,
wouldn't.
there are worse crust powers out there. The problem is it being tied to a 10 support card is
Yeah.
always rough. The benefit, in theory, is that Balthus isn't actually a horrible deploy if you're not flipping Bond's face down via other means, because he can heal himself to get that rally off.
Yeah, he also has the ability to technically double break.
Also, yeah, double break in brown, which when you have Divine Pulse is incredibly good.
Because it's until the end of turn double break, not like Yuri's flip to undodgeable, which is only for that attack. Which is why, oh not Dimitri's. Dimitri has a flip to undodgeable, which if it was undodgeable for the rest of the turn, very good. But instead, it's undodgeable for a single attack, which isn't consistent enough.
That's gonna be rough.
Yeah. Well, let's see what they got. Do they have main promo?
Brown's got a lot of 10 and 20 supports, and meanwhile Obra has a lot of 20 and 30 supports.
Yep. Um. Yeah, because they're actually running things like Kaldori. Kaldori is one of the optional ones. You don't. I personally don't use it, but it pretty much is just there to be a 30 support. While also attacking is 50, which isn't bad. But there's stuff like Setsuna 3-2, which swings as 60, so it's usually just better to generally use that.
Yep. The thing that you'd typically be doing if you're running Kildori is you'd be playing her and Setsuna both, and you're just running her as a 30 support that acts as an extra Takumi deploy in a pinch off of Takumi 4-3, which gets you stuff that you can tempo out in an emergency for some backline access, should you need it, but as Oboro, you're usually just trying to punch your opponent in the face until they die.
Yeah. But Kaldori is probably generally going to would be used more as a mage removal, because mages are usually 60 in the backline. And if there is one that's annoying enough, you just get Kaldori, punch it, Takumi pushes it back. Cool. You didn't really lose anything.
Ultimate has got to think about this turn, which means either there's no promo in hand or there's a really hard decision on the bond, which with 8 cards would surprise me.
Yeah.
But
usually early turns are pretty fast because there's a clear usually tier list of like quality cards. Oh, Lysynthia 1. Okay, 1 costs are in this deck.
so we have a couple of them in there. If you're going to run 1 costs in Yuri, Lysithia is definitely one I'd understand, as she gives you another mode for proccing Lysithia crest power,
Yeah,
other than deploying a second one.
her crest power is if you have a Lysynthia on board, you can discard the card to pop one. So you can deploy the cost 1 Lysynthia to use the other one as CP. Oof.
Unfortunate. top decking itself on Yuri. Another thing to note is that unlike most top deck skills, if Yuri fails to add the card to hand, it still stays on top of his deck. It doesn't get sent, which is what happens in the majority of cases, which means that Yuri knows he's going to self on this next swing. There's
Yeah.
nothing he can do about it, aside from pass turn and then take the self on defense instead.
Yeah, no, you always attack the Oboro here. It just doesn't do anything. And there's nothing like the Kana of last turn to clear. So it's just, yeah, you're burning your support.
The benefit of Foresight here is you could, if you have it, Byleth Crest power here, knowing that it would allow you to hit through the self that you're about to get. In most cases, though, ironically, a Killdory support would get in the way of that, or another 30 if Oboro's running more of those.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's better to get rid of it now than have it be a defensive turn and selfing.
Yes.
Exactly.
You always attack here. It's just, do you use something like Byleth CP first to try and get the hit? Byleth CP will also protect you from if they talk any promo and then tempo with another unit. The downside of the reason why you wouldn't want to use it is that next turn there's also a good chance that there's going to be a Ryoma deploy. No, there's a chance there's a Ryoma deploy. And you want to be buffed up for that just so that he doesn't just smash your face with drawing cards and tempoing out more units. That is also a good choice, though.
That is an excellent option to have on hand, and this is one of the things that's useful to Yuri. Being able to have more crest powers in hand, and crest powers being from hand skills naturally gives you unexpected toolbox applications and just extra little gizmos that you can whip out on the fly that in situations like this, no other deck in the game is typically going to have.
Yeah, CPs being the action is one of the main action phase things that you always have access to. It's just absolutely wonderful. It's probably why they're mostly on the weaker side, but it's also why this Happy specifically is one of the most splashed cards in Brown, at least, from Brown, because you just use its skill to deploy itself. It just needs your opponent to have 4 units on the board, and it comes out for free. And then you can flip 1, send 2 of those cards to hand. I think they should have sent Automation and Takumi. But that's a minor thing. Because leaving Setsuna on the board is probably the best because then it can brick. And you can't Takumi deploy the stronger Setsuna. But I understand the idea. Let's see what they're going to throw away. So now that they've bounced 2 units, Yurtz has to choose 2 cards from their hand and discard them. Send them to retreat.
Of course, Yurtz is 3 cards, so...
Yeah. Usually what ends up happening is the 2 cards that get bounced are also the 2 cards that get thrown away. Because if they were to not throw away either Takumi or Setsuna, we now have knowledge of what those cards in their hand is. And that means Ultimate also has knowledge of what those cards in their hand is. So you can start playing around that. Because if you know that your opponent has no dodges, no crits, or whatever... are they going to discard?
I assume that Yurtz is still thinking on it.
I'm going to assume the same.
But, yeah, so it was as you were saying, the interesting dilemma here with Yurtz is that having exactly 1 card in hand, outside of the 2 that just got to get grabbed, was that if he drops the card that he has in hand other than the 2 that were just bounced, then obviously Ultimate knows the last card in Yurtz's hand.
Yeah.
Now, not necessarily hugely relevant, as Oboro is a draw machine and is going to draw more cards starting next turn.
But her always staying at low card hand is not good. Happy is probably one of the most efficient ways of getting rid of it. Yeah. Oh, Yurtz just didn't know? I thought Yurtz played more. Must be misremembering them then.
Yurtz has played a fair bit. He's been around for some time. Though it has been a while. I don't think Yurtz has played a lot of Cipher recently, though I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, that's fair. I just remember, I just recognize names and be like, oh yeah, they know things, they're fine. And then, or I don't recognize their name and, yeah. Okay, so yeah, the Setsuna and the Takumi are both getting discarded, so we still don't know what the final card is. And now we're doing the Bioth CP. Alright. So we knew that this self would happen. Is there the 30 support? No. So this attack does hit.
Leading Yurtz to presumably take his first orb of the game.
I mean, if they dodged right there, I'd be very much questioning their sanity.
Technically speaking, you could dodge here to play around the future Divine Pulse and get your avoided hits while you can, but it would not be wise when your hand is so low.
Yeah. Yeah, because usually you want to dodge early against Brown because their whole...
Ooh.
Raying.
Reshuffle the opponent, they can't Oboro draw.
Yeah, no, they can. You just discard
Oh wait,
the
yeah,
Oboro to
duh,
retreat.
because there's an Oboro on top.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Rhea's not a... Rhea's a
Right,
tech card.
What? No, that's a tech against... The only thing that would affect in this deck is Queen Hinoka, who
Yeah.
isn't always played.
It's legitimately just a bad tech option against this deck. You kind of just want to bond it or use its other skill. Its on deploy skill, so you can deploy something else. Using it to reset deck doesn't affect Oboro at all.
Right. Marianne 4/3 is the tech that you can play into Oboro as Yuri, which
because that one
isn't
stops movement by skills.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that card is good against things like Crom, Micaiah, Roy, assuming they have Kanos on the board, and a few other things. But against Oboro, it is pretty much dead weight. It doesn't do anything. But here we go. We got another Setsuna who gains plus 30 attack when she's attacking someone in the front line, I thought. Nope, it's just when she's attacking. So as long as Happy doesn't self here, she actually lives.
Wonderful self-support.
Oh, yeah. I don't think Yurtz is having a good game so far. That is what I can tell you.
No, Yurtz has gotten horribly unlucky with many of these attacks, which is precisely the sort of condition that slower decks, Brown MCs, particularly Yuri, have a bit more outs to it than others due to the extra defensive utility like we talked about earlier on the 1 cost and through Byleth Crest power. But generally the win con for a lot of decks against Oboro is just hope Oboro doesn't land too many attacks early on in the game.
Yep.
Reading. Possible CP.
I mean, look, we already had someone miss 2 of their own skills.
There are no crest powers that come into effect outside of your action phase.
Yep, all crest powers have the same standard of being activatable skills, action skills, whatever. So you have to use them on your action phase. Yeah. If CPs were like ever were in auto, that would very much mess with the balance and everything of Brown.
Yeah, it'd be pretty OP.
Maybe not OP. There is technically a few skills that are auto like that. There's Veronica that says when your opponent deploys something via skill, you can deploy Veronica and then tap a unit. So it's if your opponent tempos out a unit, you tempo out one, and you stop their tempo.
Okay.
Yes.
So there is a few autos from hand like that. It's just not Brown. Brown is built more slower, is the best way to put it.
Getting opponent's turn from hand, auto-triggering skills, it's design space that could be quite precarious. It's a bit of a slippery slope, easy to fall down.
Yep.
Would have been interesting. I wouldn't have been surprised if they tried it had the game continued to go on, but as it stands, we have just Act Crest powers, which I think for the simplicity of the mechanic is somewhat for the best.
Yeah, considering most of Cipher is very basic skills, like, I don't think there's actually a really super complicated one. There's some complicated interactions. Oh.
Basically free draw to every round.
Speaking of complex interactions but not complex skills,
This is one of them. So when you class change a unit, they are technically a new unit. And same thing when you de-class change. So Oboro is the only case of this. There's only 2 cards in the game that affect stacks of units. Oboro is one of them. So she can de-level herself, and then her cost 1 allows you to move. And then that triggers this Oboro skill, which class changes her from retreat, and then you can just repeat it. It's pretty much flip 2, draw 2 that's repeatable. Cipher usually doesn't have draws that are known once per turn, or at least like soft once per turn, like how Mickey is. You can technically draw 2, but it's uncommon because she only can draw 1 herself naturally.
yep. Generally, if you're going to have non-once per turn effects, they'll be very conditional, whereas Oboro's condition is effectively almost non-existent. The bond that you flip has to be white, and Oboro has to move, which was a real condition back when the card was made in set 7, but then in set 14, a self-moving Oboro 1 was created, and that removed any complexity in acquiring that.
Yeah. Pretty much it was... I actually don't have an issue with Oboro's design. The only issue I have with it is its color. If you made Oboro blue, I would have no issue with it.
Oh yeah, because she's de-leveling and glass changing herself over an hour.
Yeah. It's just kind of awkward that it's in yellow. It's in white. And as I said, there's only one other card that interacts with card stacks, really, and that is Celica, who can de-level, so removes the top card of the stack for your opponent. But it's very expensive and not really used.
Technically speaking, Celica's the one that... She also blocks the ability for the opponent's main character to level up via skills, right?
Yep, correct. That is the second skill of it.
Ironically, an Oboro attack, though a very poor one because of how expensive she is, not to mention the 0 support.
Yeah. So yeah, this attack doesn't even hit unless they crit. So yeah, this is just a weirdly slow game. I thought it was going to be a bit faster, but it happens.
Happy surviving a turn is unexpected and incredibly welcome for Ultimate here.
Yeah. Happy is usually something you deploy, it does its job, it flips 1, and then it dies. It's not a card that's really meant to live 2 turns, which is why it's 50 attack, even though it's a cost 4. And so it's now going to use its skills again. It's going to send that automation and the Setsuna to hand, and those are going to be reshuffled around.
Yep. Alternatively, if Yuri doesn't have a way to hit through Oboro's stat threshold, he could wind up swinging into Setsuna with Yuri and then swinging into Automaton with Happy, which another reason why Happy is 50 attack here is because she's sacking 10 of her attack to have 1/3 range on her card's stat line through the Valkyrie class, which is very useful here. As Oboro's a deck that can often lack 2 range in the front line because she'll wind up stocking up all her archers in the back line, so Happy can apply pressure to those backline archers without having to get in their range herself.
Yep, that is also correct, yeah. Is there actually any other 1/3 Valkyries though? 'Cause
Happy is, I believe, the only card in the Valkyrie class in brown currently, so
it
her stat
also
line is unique to her.
it also does say it's a unique class, not special or promoted. Actually, that
Yep,
might just be something else though.
it's a unique class because it's one of the DLC
Items.
classes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
All the Cindered Shadows DLC classes have the unique trait, along with the Lord personal classes, among a few others.
Okay, fair. Um,
Because Fodlan's class system is
weird.
vastly different from most Fire Emblem games.
I was just thinking that there might not.
Oh no, another
You failing to
hit.
draw twice. Oh, but not the worst situation right now. Other than that, but yeah, I was just questioning that because I feel like they specifically gave Happy 1 to 3 range to, or like to nerf her attack justifiably, because you never attack with that. I think I've seen like 2 attacks with it in my entire time playing Cipher.
Seen a fair number. It occasionally has utility just in a position where you don't want to necessarily bounce the threat
Right.
that's on the board because it being replayed is too dangerous and there's something else for Happy to do that turn.
Yeah.
But typically, you just bounce, as you'll see now. Though I
The
actually would personally say that's not the correct play here.
I would say it is generally just because it is still flip 1 minus your opponent 2. It also removes their +10 buff, which means Lysynthia can hit. And the main counterplay to something like bouncing like this is leveling up and making a stack of units. Because if there's a leveled up unit and they bounce it, both cards go to hand, and this Happy only makes you discard 1 for those 2 cards. So you can actually go plus in hand if like you had like a level 5 Micaiah, all 5 of those cards would go to hand and you only have to discard 1. So you just gained 4 cards.
Yeah, that you can. My counter argument for that is personally I would have Lysithea clear Setsuna while Happy clears auto because Lysithea isn't hitting through Oboro's 70 base, where Yuri is once you clear both targets,
Yeah,
though
fair.
obviously this is subject to attack inconsistency. Either of these attacks could miss in certain scenarios.
Or you
And
have
of course, you
constancy.
have Constance Crest power, and then Lysithea hits anyways, at which point this is the better play.
And you also get Thief Emblem to
That is Authority Emblem.
oh, that is Authority. Yep, correct. Never mind. I thought that was Thief Emblem because it would make more sense.
All Thief Emblems are on 10 supports.
True. I thought it was one of those like Lord privilege things that no one that was a niche situation, but and oh, yeah, I mean Dimitri makes sense.
Dimitri's a solid card.
It's
I
just
would not be expecting him to get Dimitri draw in an Oboro game, but the Yurtz actually has fewer orbs than Ultimate right now, so it is possible.
yeah, and just because Happy's just going to constantly do added pressure, and they're going to flip 1 for. Oh no, that was an orb take. I was thinking that was Lysynthia draw.
Well, holding on end phase, so
Yep.
presumably.
So Lysynthia is also a funny card because it's also a non-once per turn draw. Or it is a once per turn draw. It's just once per each turn, so you can actually draw on your opponent's turn. Which is uncommon.
Alright. The advantage that Yurtz has from taking all those hits is now having a bunch of orbs in hand. So we'll see what those new options do for his pressure potential here. Without Byleth Crest power for defense, Ultimate could wind up taking a big hit, but we'll see what happens.
Sorry, if we could rewind back to the thing you said about the stacks and the bouncing. Why do you only lose 1 card instead of 2?
It is so when Happy bounces, she can bounce up to 2 enemies, and then your opponent discards cards equal to the number of enemies bounced. However, if you bounce a leveled up enemy, that is still only 1 enemy, so your opponent discards 1 for that enemy getting bounced. However, since the enemy was a stack of 2, 3, or more cards, they get all of those cards back in their hand. So your opponent actually net positives in hand size from you bouncing leveled up cards.
Yep.
Oh, okay, I see.
It is very much something that you don't want to do, especially if it involves the cards May or Micaiah usually. Those are the 2
not
worst
May
ones
lock.
to bounce. Just because Micaiah will be a high level, and May is just, they're going to May you again. Because May stops you from untapping during the next turn completely.
Alright. Ryoma to tap Oboro to deploy Melkoran. Very classic play out of Oboro's repertoire. Typically, Oboro would like to be doing this by using Ryoma's skill to deploy Melkoran with the cost of tapping a lower cost archer in the backline. However, since Ultimate was able to clear Yurtz's board last turn, he's going to have to settle for tapping Oboro herself.
And okay, that's one way to get the board out, though.
Woo! That is a lot of units.
In the front line.
Yeah. So, Corrin's skill is grab one of your bonds back, and then deploy up to 3 low costs. They deployed 3 low costs.
Unusual that you managed to get all 3 of those
Yeah.
out, but we'll see. It's interesting that Yurtz is deploying all of them in the front line. I suspect it's just to try and take shots at Happy.
Yeah.
But this is sacrificing some pressure into Yuri, which, depending on how, if you have crits or whatnot in your hand, could be meaningful. But, oh, it looks like Happy is going to get cleared here, thanks to that attack emblem. So, it seems the gamble pays off.
Yeah. I mean, they want to get rid of Happy just because it's going to make them constantly just -2 every turn. This is one though. This is one time though. I would bounce the Corrin and something else, and then kill the Ryoma because you want the Ryoma in retreat, so it can't deploy the Corrin again. And the Corrin going to hand just means, well, it's locked away until they're at 6 bonds or they get another Ryoma out.
That does miss, albeit barely.
Yeah, 40 plus 30, not enough. Except if you crit.
And there's another utility to those Lysithia ones. The surprise evade coming in for the save.
Yeah.
Now we've got 2 attacks left to go into Yuri. This one is likely to miss. We'll see if that's a reality.
I mean, it's 80 so far. There's 10 supports on the Yuri side, as well as their notorious amounts
That
of
is
self.
true. Running Balthus 4 is a few 10 supports. Oh, and running Marianne Dancer is another 10. That will hit.
Wow.
Yep, ultimate getting punished for 10 supports.
It would be funny if that was a one of. That's how I would react if it was a one of in my deck.
Wait, what?
Yeah,
just
Yurtz started the next attack, and Ultimate is clarifying that it hit.
Yep.
The previous one. And now Ultimate is thinking presumably about either taking the orb or potentially dodging. That's a play that you consider if you have Dimitri 5 in your hand. The other consideration is Ultimate might have forgotten that he has an orb and MC tab. Not to degrade, but many people do, including myself.
Usually it's the opponents that miss it. No, there they go. They grabbed it right there. Usually it's the opponents that miss it because I only look at orbs and face-up orbs. I just don't look at MC tab because I just don't think anything should go there. So I just never check it.
Alright. Orb taken and orb 2 taken. Alright.
It's enough to flip the game.
Well. Now Yurtz is 1 orb and 2 cards in hand, so this will be Yuri's chance to return fire and potentially win the game.
Yep, this is the main point where you could just try and swing and just kill. Ultimate, it didn't really hurt you. It gave you another resource so you can punch the Oboro harder. You need to realize, though, that this is the turn to try and kill.
This is, in fact, Ultimate's... This is a winning position for Ultimate here.
Yep.
Surviving this turn and having Lysithea still is also a big deal, as that nets you an extra card.
Yep. It's an extra attacker, it's an extra card to draw with, and all that.
If I'm Yurtz, I would be that guy and say that you drew for start of turn and now cannot use Lysithea's start of turn skill. But...
Is Cynthia's turn? No, Cynthia's end.
Oh, it is at end of each player's turn.
Yep.
Still the same, though, since you drew for start of turn, you forfeited that window.
Yeah, you moved it forward. As for me, I don't even mention when things are optional, and they miss it. If they miss something that's or something that's technically mandatory, but they missed it, I just go, eh. They missed it.
It seems Ultimate just did not realize the skill, or noticed you missed the window and did not want to go back.
Yep. Or he might think it's only the end of his turn. Because...
Or for all we know, he might have an unavoidable or something and really want that face-up bond.
True. I just say that because... Yeah. Last game was funny.
Bonding Lysithea, if you have another Lysithea in hand, I would understand that, but I would keep that for a crit this turn usually. We'll see.
Yeah, bonding the Lysithea is probably the most questionable choice here so far that Ultimate has done. Just
But that is obviously entirely dependent on the hand.
Yeah, if you have a second Lysithea in hand, go for it. But you need that to just crit and hit face.
There is raw deploy Sothis. Do we have 2 Sothis in hand? Yes, we do. Okay. Now I'm really questioning what the hand is, though.
Yeah, so they still have 3
Because if you've got multiple Sothis on taps, you actually have a reason to keep multiple Lysithea crits.
Yeah. Also, they're not even using all their deployments so far. They've only used 2, so they have 3 left. So that means that Lysithea was completely unnecessary.
Marion Crest Power to stack a card. Presumably going to get added to Yuri's hand.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought
Crest
it would be.
Power, that makes sense. The other thing that I would consider here, the other Crest Power that I think you consider, but Oboro's 80 on defense, so obviously if you don't have the Byleth CP in hand, actually now I'm realizing the other play line that could be for bonding Lysithea is using Dimitri Crest Power to tap Sothis and tap Lysithea to flip one on tap Yuri.
Yuri CP to grab what?
If it's Dimitri and that's why you didn't flip the bond face up, then it's Happy. Okay. I was really hoping it would be Dimitri.
Yeah. Happy's decent.
Because you should depending on your opponent's hand, you almost always win the game in that situation if you grab Dimitri. You just win here.
Oh,
I'm going to
But
assume
it's-
that they didn't notice it, though, sadly, then. Which, to be fair, most people won't.
Happy is a more defensive play here.
Constant CP as well. Okay. So why did you bond the crit? You could have bonded the Constance and then kept the crit.
I mean, if Yurtz evades, then you don't have...
Yeah. Actually, no, yeah, the buff makes more sense because that means that the Sothesis can untap the Lysynthia. So you want Lysynthia to swing right here. You want Lysynthia to go first so that Yuri can do all the cleanup later, I would say. Okay, please do not clear board. Please do not clear
We
board.
might be seeing a defensive turn here, which would be a horrible mistake in my mind.
It would be an absolute travesty.
The only time I would do a defensive turn here is if you had counted up the state of Yurtz's retreat and whatnot, and were confident pretty much to a T that Yurtz's last orb and both cards in hand were dodges, but I don't think that is the case currently.
And that Setsuna confirms it. They kept automation in hand. So we know one of their cards is automation. If they don't swing face here, that's just a... Okay, they are swinging face.
Okay, so we
80,
are...
that hits. There's no more archers. Oh, they did that to get rid of the archers.
Yeah, to make her 70. That is the other reason that you would do that play. It does give you a little more consistency on this hit.
And they take the hit, which now means Yuri has 3 attacks. His first attack, the Sothis on boards, Divine Pulse, and then Yuri has his own Divine Pulse for a third swing. So Yuri can just keep swinging face now. And he's doing that. Perfect choice.
Excellent.
Good game.
All right. That is simply a wrap.
Good game.
Yep.
Yeah, that... Now that I think about it, that is not... That is a pretty solid play line. I still personally would go with the Dimitri one.
It worked.
In those shoes. But it is... I mean, getting Happy out on the board again, on the off chance that Yurtz lives, is its own reward. So
Yeah.
I completely understand it.
If that didn't kill, I was ultra cooked. Yeah, you were. Well, you were going all in. That was the point of that turn.
What does Yurtz have 6 orbs and 1 MC?
You know, that's a question.
I presume misclick. Okay, we are going to have to let Yurtz know he has 6 orbs. Oh, nope, ultimate did it.
I'm
also explaining the MC thing. Okay, that removed the orb, but there's still that MC zone card.
That I believe that's up to 51, so it shouldn't matter. It might have been like an extra card in MC tab. That
Yeah, I just don't know what it was. I don't know why it's there or anything.
so typically I would assume it's because he clicked. There's something that happened. Did he load deck twice? He might have loaded
Yeah,
deck,
if
played
you
MC, and
load,
then loaded deck.
yeah, that just will now cause. Yeah, shouldn't be too much matter. Shouldn't matter too much. It's just if they grab that card from MC, that is now an issue because this is why you shouldn't use it as orbs. Is because sometimes it's used as a second like boundless, like it's something that went wrong and a card is just sitting there.
Granted, Oboro has no way to look at orbs, so this
Yeah,
should never come up.
it shouldn't, but I'm just saying if Ultimate was thinking and look like in 5 turns they forget that one card was there at the start, they look and go, oh, that's an orb. It's now fucking with your opponent. It shouldn't ever happen. I'm just saying it technically could.
Indeed.
Is my typing showing up in the chat bar for you guys?
Yeah, it is.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Because there was one game where it wasn't for a bit, so just had to make sure. Come on, Yurtz. Oh, good lord, now someone joined and now we got chat. Yeah, cool. Yeah, as long as that's Oboro 1, it's fine. Just throw it in boundless. It's just they loaded their deck twice or something. It happens sometimes because once you load your deck, you play your MC, you load your deck again. That can happen. Or a very funny thing is Lackey. When a spectator joins or leaves, sometimes it'll do like a half-second revert, just because it didn't sync properly. And that could be what it is. And that means as soon as that card tries to do anything, it'll auto-delete because it realizes it's somewhere else. Because they have the same number somewhere. Yeah. Okay, but what? For this match, I can normal match.
Not sure what he means by that.
For the what? Yeah, so I'm just typing out what I said here, which was, yeah, chances are it was from a spectator joining. Because some people use MC as orbs, there should be nothing in it. So to move that card to boundless just to get it out of everything.
Hmm.
Okay, well. That's why I explained it, Yurtz. Part by part. Just move the card. It shouldn't... I'm getting frustrated. Oh well. Yes.
I believe the implication here is that that card might not be Oboro 1 because you keep saying this conditionally on the card being Oboro 1.
Fair, but that means I have no idea where the card came from. Oh, there goes Oboro 1 to boundless. There we go. So I did get the card right because my assumption was, as it turns out, correct. Yeah. If it wasn't Oboro, you would be correct, and it probably was something like that.
So sometimes Lackey kind of just doesn't load the thing, so then you do it twice.
So
Then it has a slight delay.
Pretty much Lackey is slightly delayed, as everything is on the internet. And if someone joins as spectator or leaves as spectator when something's happening, Lackey will sometimes do a like half-second go back and will sometimes duplicate cards or make certain things not sync properly. It's nothing that usually matters, because it doesn't come up enough. Or like, because like if you're not playing a card and someone joins as spectator, nothing happens, or someone leaves. It has to be specifically as you're picking up a card or as they're leaving, and then some weird things can happen. So in this case, they hit play MC. Someone joined or left as spectator, and it reverted to before they played MC, but that card still got played on the board. It was kind of just a, hey, it got duplicated. It's very, very uncommon, but it does happen sometimes.
Yeah, I had a weird one where I did click the support button and then nothing came out on my screen, but then the support already came out on the other screen I saw in the recording.
Yeah. So certain things like that can happen. Because, yes, probably chances are spectator joined or left, and I'm guessing your opponent was the host of the game.
Yeah, probably. It's the time when we had the extra Nowie for no reason.
Yeah. Alright, so it should be... Yurtz never bonded anything.
Yep.
Oh, okay. So is she gonna bond for that Karagi you deployed? Their hand is only -1. Their deck's completely normal, so everything's counted, right? They just don't have a bond. And they played Karagi from hand. Well, this is a new thing to happen. I haven't had a game stall like this in a weird way.
Wonder if you're gonna cut the recording.
No, I do editing on the fly, which means... Okay. OBS has the option to like start and stop recording, so the only editing I do is I take 2 clips and fuse them together. So if someone says be right back, I'll hit stop recording, and then I'll start recording once they're back. Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Here we go.
Get into game. Bonding Oboro, deploying Karagi. So usually you don't deploy on turn 1, just because they're usually going to get killed. But since Yuri does not have range, and they're and the chances of them deploying a 1-cost with range is quite low. Deploying Kuragi on the backline is pretty safe, and he should, well, live. The
Yep.
only way that Yuri is going to hit this, from what we've seen, is deploying Lysynthia in the front line and swinging Kuragi.
Yep.
Which,
I actually, personally, I wouldn't have done this play precisely because you have evidence that there is an out to it,
Yeah.
but it's still not a bad one even in this situation.
it forces the Lysynthia into the front line, so you can kill it. It does cause your opponent to still go -1 technically, but you do end up on the losing side of that trade generally.
Is there much point in clearing this this early on with a Lysynthia?
Kuragi can hit a 30 support or one of those attack emblem archers with 40 supports and hit. Kuragi is a threat.
But
Granted,
doesn't
not
this,
against
like,
Yuri 1.
Yeah,
Oh yeah,
Yuri
not
does.
against Yuri, yeah. Okay, Yuri 1 needs to self or Yuri needs to get a 10 support, which is quite likely from what we've seen. Since
Yeah.
Yuri selfed almost every turn early.
Yuri is running what looks to be a fair few copies, and there's also some copies of Balthus and at least one copy of Marianne 4 as well. So,
Yep.
not entirely unlikely.
The real question is, are they going to Byleth CP again this turn? Because there's going to be a lot of things hitting the board, probably. Oboro is going to probably deploy 2-cost ones in the class change.
This CP send card to retreat, choose one.
It lets you look at a single orb and draw a card for discarding it. So it lets you look at an orb and cycle it. And
Yep.
we have the Byleth CP.
For
which-
Linhardt, for Yuri, the reason that he really likes Linhardt is that it's just 4 slots in his deck that he can throw in with a crest power, and if he doesn't need the card in the moment, which he usually doesn't, then he just uses the crest power and gets something else.
It pretty much just is meant for consistency on his draw skill. And that's it. It just turns the Linhardt into any other card.
It is practically deck thinner.
Yep. It's also why things like Henry use it as well a lot of the time, is because it's deck thinner. And also the actual what you're paying for is also sometimes worth it because you can prioritize or deprioritize certain orbs. Because when your MC gets destroyed, you can take any orb to heal them technically. So you can take that orb you picked at, or you can't. It's up to you. Depends on if you need that card or not. Okay, we got automation. So not going full aggro, but at the same time, Oboro has yet to hit the retreat. All right, so that's 1 for the Byleth CP that has saved you. Also, are they running all 3 house leaders?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, all 3 of the set 21 house leaders. Interesting. Okay, so that's a second hit that it saved them from at least. So yeah, the Byleth CP being technically a +1 there. Ends up working out. And the Oboro might have actually not deployed 2-cost ones because the Byleth CP and the fact that they might be trying to avoid being happied again. Because no one wants to be happied when they have low hand.
Especially this early in the game.
Yeah.
Because, ironically, in this position where Oboro has not been able to promote on turn 2, as there is no Oboro promo in retreat yet, Happy could actually, in theory, hit Oboro in the face, which is rather funny. You'd be prioritizing bouncing units over doing that, of course, but you can.
Yep. that just works. Sadly, there's no bridge this time, but... And they're not dodging with main Oboro to set up, so... Not the greatest turn, though. Just because nothing really happened.
Yep. Oboro did not have the promo, which is good for ultimate. On the other hand, ultimate does not have Byleth Crest power or bridge or any way to improve his stats, which is really good for Yurtz.
Yeah, especially this turn, because they're probably, if they can, they'll want to do Takumi Setsuna. Or Bonding Setsuna. Okay. I would hope they have another form of 3 cost then. Just so that they actually are using their full deployment. Takumi. Okay. Takumi is the one you want to attack with last in this. Because the idea is if Kuragi or Automation was to support Oboro, you can then clash change the Oboro and would be more likely to hit with Takumi. Because then he gets buffed because the Oboro exists. But unpunished. They get the hit anyway.
Balthus is a 10 support.
Yes. You know, when they first revealed the DLC, I thought Balthus was the house leader, not Yuri. I don't know why. It took me until Cipher, because I didn't play that, the Cinder Shadows DLC or whatever. Legitimately, I learned that from Cipher.
Yeah, look at the big man. I guess he's the lead.
Like, I don't know why. It's just, we've already had the other two, which are roughly the same like body type as Yuri, so why not have one that's a little bit different?
I mean, to be fair, I didn't know Kiragi existed until Cipher. Basically, today. This
Karagi's,
match.
yeah, Takumi's child.
I thought it was just a bit like a slightly
That
weirder looking
misses.
Takumi.
You know, you're not wrong. So this hits. Oh no, it misses
Oh.
because attack emblem is turned off.
Yep.
God damn it, Yuri. As someone who doesn't usually rely on support skills, I forget that that exists and how actually good that is.
Yup. There are a whopping 2 MCs in the game with that skill on their cost 1, and both of them leverage it very effectively.
Who's the other one? Peleus?
Lloyd.
No. Oh, Lloyd. Yeah.
There are, yeah, some Dark Mages have support skill disables, but not on anything that attacks them. They have slightly different conditions. I believe the other ones, like, there's a few 1 costs that just stop 1 cost units from triggering support skills, which is
That's usually
useful
what it is.
for all the same reasons.
Yeah.
And then I believe the other singular exception is set 16 Sophia 1, who blocks support skills going into MC specifically. So I guess she would sort of be the third one.
Yep. Yeah, fair.
I would say it's not as relevant for Sophia, though, because she's a 30 base cost one, which means disabling attack emblems doesn't hit nearly as many thresholds as it does.
It stops you from
The other
getting
two.
keyed, but that's about it. And
Yeah.
being a 30 base means you don't really usually care too much about the keys because you're getting hit anyway. You got other priorities.
Also stops Magic Emblem, which is
Magic Emblem isn't the... Magic Emblem is less common. It's still decently common, especially in certain decks that spam it. And it still is technically a punishment, but like Darkness Emblem, Attack Emblem for like Archers, and Manakete Emblem are the main ones.
That and Hero Emblem would also be quite relevant.
Oh, did they double its support?
No, some cards got put into the wrong retreat area from the looks of things.
Oh, yeah. So if you're counting your opponent's retreat, you can't just drag it over top of where it says retreat. That'll put it in theirs. You can drag it off to the left and then specifically drop it into yours, or you have to go back to your own zones. Luckily, if you have the setting that doesn't like make all the cards face you, whenever a card gets played, even if it's by you, if it's owned by your opponent, it will be upside down, and then you go, oh, I never owned that card. But usually it's quite apparent when you put cards in their deck, in their retreat, because, well, white and brown don't look the same.
Mm.
Wait. Why is Yurtz taking 2 consecutive turns? We all live those days.
Reload save. Yeah.
I mean, it is still his turn.
It's near the end of your turn.
Yeah, you can take your turn. You just can't start a new one. It was still your turn at the time.
Yeah.
I would hope Oboro doesn't have free action phase New World. Oh, gosh.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that was just funny. But yeah. Yep.
Still no Oboro promo.
Yep. I mean, Oboro's just hoping to self half the time early. Well, not really herself, just any of her other minions to do it. But this turn can easily go quite well for Ultimate if they just main promo and happy again. Because Yurtz's hand is not in a good spot. So like main promoing to tank up so you can stop getting hit by things, and then happying away 2 of the units, you're just going to be in a good spot by doing that.
Yep. That would be the ideal situation. Would completely nuke Yurtz's pressure, and also getting more units off the board means less chances for Yurtz to mill Oboro 4-3.
Yeah.
Potentially delaying that promotion even further. Oboro is commonly regarded as having the most consistent promotion in the game, and for good reason, but occasionally you get situations like this.
And it bricks, for me, like 60 to 70% of the time I use it. In round robin, where it was just best of ones and you bring 2 decks, I had Henry and Oboro bricked almost every single time I brought it. And Henry,
I think if those are the 2 decks you bring, I think you deserved it.
And Henry never bricked. Every single time.
Oh, yes, Henry,
with...
the deck with the turn 2 promo that you can't get out of your retreat area.
Yeah, and it never bricked on me. I just always got it, and I always got Medius and Orbs. I have like 6 pictures of when I was DMing Sauce and Cinnamon, of just, hey, here's my next starting hand, here's my next starting hand, here's my next starting hand, and they were just getting mad.
Oh my gosh. That is cruel.
It's just because it kept happening that it was funny. And okay, no promo. That's a little awkward. Usually you definitely want to put Happy in the back line because there's no reason to ever put her in the front line. Unless you're trying to hide behind her.
So, fun, rarely seen detail is that Yuri skill 1 actually also blocks the other Ashen Wolves from being affected by your opponent's support skills.
Yes.
Which means that Happy 2 is immune.
That is true.
Which actually does prevent her from getting cleared by some high roll attack emblem stuff on the next opponent's turn once this happens.
True. But you'd still think that just putting her in the back line is usually the safer option always.
Actually, not having promos, not too bad.
Yeah, the only
Just
reason that
active.
Ultimate would consider frontlining her is if he feels the need to tap move back with Yuri.
Oh, but actually putting Happy in the front line. Are they going to attack with Happy? Because if they're not aware that Happy is 1 to 3 range,
I feel like they're probably just going to try using hers to bait some attacks, so then they take less orbs.
that might be what's true, and I would hope so in this situation. Considering at some point Oboro will promo, just because eventually it will hit retreat. Unless all 4 are in orbs, which would just be hilarious.
Wonder who'd you bounce in this case.
I would bounce... Usually you bounce Takumi Automaton almost automatically.
Yep.
If you're tap moving back with Yuri, there is a very small argument that you can make to bounce Kiragi instead of Takumi, because Kiragi will always swing 40 into Happy on the following turn, where Takumi won't necessarily. But I still think you bounce Takumi. But we are seeing the Kiragi bounce
Why
here.
did they flip them? Yurtz, why did you
Your
flip
guess
them
is
face
as good
down?
as mine.
I feel like they just have some weird settings that are just causing them to constantly flip cards, and it's frustrating the hell out of them.
I would assume funky keybinds as well.
Because usually you have to hold control and like click it for it to be flipped. Okay, Karagi's getting discarded. Are they going to keep the automation in hand? No.
We are discarding Kaze over Automaton.
Yeah.
And we are shuffling our retreat area for fun.
I mean...
And Yuri is attacking after frontlining Happy. I have confusion. And then that missed.
Maybe it's just more of just tempting bait rather than meat shield fully.
I guess if you have a second Happy,
yeah, but you
I
can
could
just let
see
the Happy
that.
die and then redeploy it. So yeah, I guess, yeah, if you mean they have a second Happy, so they're using it as a body block for something. Bait,
Yeah.
And then just redeploy it.
Yeah, to stall for time. Personally, in the situation where I have 2 Happies here, I actually consider using Happy CP on a second time before bouncing to class change happy into happy in hopes that I draw main promo off of it.
And Yurtz just drew an untapped.
I haven't ended turn yet.
Oh, this is just a
Really
funny game. This is just funny so far.
Game of all time.
Oh. Mercedes CP. Okay, yeah. That's fine. What are you healing? A dodge? Yuri 3-2? That's what I would heal.
Yuri 3-2 is definitely your best option if it's in there,
What
but I
about
don't know if
Linhardt?
it's been milled yet. I actually don't think it has.
Well,
I
instead they went
don't
with
think I saw
Linhardt. Linhardt's still not a bad option because once again they can peek at an orb and they get to draw a card.
Yep, that's 2 pieces of sorting to potentially find promo.
Yeah, so they kind of just flip one, peek at orb, draw one. It's not great, but yeah.
It's like no one's getting promo.
Double no promo games, they are certainly a specialty.
It's double no promo is better than one side promo. Double no promo is just two people panicking, going, "Oh God, I need to find this thing before the other person."
Some would say that what makes the superior Cipher player is who can correctly play the game off curve. We will now see how that sorts out between these two players.
Yeah. Who can play better when everything is going wrong?
I feel like Brown would have the advantage for off-curve playing, just because the CP skills.
Yes,
I would usually say yes.
but it's Oboro.
However, yes.
But it's
However, it is the main character that promotes from retreat.
Yeah. Like, at some point during this game, Oboro will promote. And remember, Oboro is not restricted on how many times they flip to draw. If you're at 6 spawns and that's the first time you promo, guess what? You're drawing 6 cards that turn.
Huh, I
So
see.
it doesn't matter when Oboro does it, as long as they do it at some point. While also being the most consistent promo in the game because they can do it from retreat.
Right. Here's Automaton, and that does not... Well, presumably that does not hit, unless we get a particularly poor support from Happy here.
Yep. Let's see what Happy's support is. Nope, she lives.
She lives. I believe this is the first time in base game that I've seen this relevant.
Yep. No attack emblem because Yuri's skill 1 is still active.
I've seen it come up a couple of times in customs, but this is the first time seeing it in base game.
I think Yurtz is is mentally boomed. I think that's what's happening so far. Just get Takumi to swing and hit the Oboro. And it'll all be good.
That would magically make everything better. Unfortunately, that is the exact opposite of what just happened.
Yep. Are they gonna crit the Happy?
With one card in hand?
Hey, look, that Happy is going to cause you to go both of these.
Oh, absolutely. It is the unfortunate necessary play if you have a Takumi in hand.
They do not.
However, Ultimate deliberately putting that card in the front line makes me believe that there is a Happy dodge there anyways. So
Yeah, same, but like this Happy is the best dodge take I've ever seen.
oh my
God,
gosh. Little did we know, Ultimate was a psychic and had the right play the whole time. And all of us over here in the peanut gallery, we didn't know.
You're right, Ultimate. It's a game of Cipher, alright.
I mean, even if they had inverted the attack, so it wasn't double selves, I don't think it would have hit.
Where did the
Oboro would have hit because
Oboro would have hit.
where did the
Yeah.
Ryoma come from?
Uh,
No clue.
Whatever. You know, this. So Happy, a 50 base, just lived 3 attacks on versus an Oboro.
with however many attack emblems in deck.
Yeah.
On turn 6.
Yeah, this is the first turn 4, I think.
Yuri 1 is a good card.
Yep.
Let's see what Ultimate's next play is. A 7-card hand. Definitely provides options. Bonding Constants 2.
Alright. Do you got promo? You got promo, buddy.
If you don't have promo, honestly, in his shoes, if he doesn't have a 4-cost to play, I would consider playing Constants 2. A, because you clear, and also because it's another support skill immune body.
Lysynthia.
That is the good play, though. Except I would personally have put her in backline.
Same.
What's with the
You know,
seat?
she's just gonna live anyway.
This is possible. Oh, someone accidentally clicked add seat. There is a 3rd chair in this room now.
So we're gonna third party this game.
Jump in, load a deck. No, not in a tournament setting, please. But that's something.
Yeah, ignore. No, I'm not gonna type it. They know. People know. Ignore the chair. Oh, good lord.
Some tournament games are just that scuffed.
I mean, literally last match before this, there was a Erica that constantly got buffed by Mercedes, and then was critting the attacks even though they were hitting, because they didn't know Mercedes gave +20 on deploy, and then they weren't using Erica's skill 2 on defense. So
Oh,
yeah,
the Braves Kings formation was getting half value.
yeah.
Maybe they really wanted it to kill.
Well, it was just really funny when they would deploy Mercedes, get +20, swing as 90, and then crit. Because the opponent got a 20 support.
Youch.
Yeah.
What would be the ordering here? Would you bounce first and then do the attacks? Surely
Don't-
they swing face this turn, because otherwise they're not really doing anything.
It doesn't particularly... The ordering doesn't particularly matter here, but
Order.
at least...
Yeah. In this case, it
From what
doesn't
I can
matter.
tell.
You want to do this earlier, though, because if you start giving them orbs, they now have more cards in their hand to choose from. And they're keeping the automation again.
So now they definitely don't have a dodge.
Yeah.
But the only deployed 1 cost is Lysithia 1. I don't know why we're keeping auto over all else.
I don't know either.
You have enough bonds to play more expensive cards. You sent a Kildori, you could have played Kildori. She at least swings... She can kill Happy by herself.
Wait, what? Do they just immediately take the orb? Oh, no.
Yes, though it did
Yes.
hit anyways.
They just took the orb preemptively.
It's an unfortunate mental state to be in.
I'm pretty sure Yurtz has gone boom. Is the best way to put it. This has been one of the worst, the most unfortunate Oboro things I've seen.
Yeah, this has
as
been
well,
a really bad set of Oboro games, and this has been a prime sample. Well, game 1, Actually, wait. Game 1, Yuri only got a top deck once after rigging it. So,
Yeah, this is just weird because it's Oboro. She has less cards in hand and less orbs than the opponent, who has no pro mode. Granted, Oboro should be promoing now, roughly soon. If all 4 of the Oboro main promos were stuck in orbs, now she has them. She just needs some way to get them into the retreat. You can crit.
or you just class change into it at this point.
Yeah. Honestly, class change into it and then draw 4 cards. Just flip all 4 bonds face down. Go, yeah, now I have resources.
To be fair, the non-promo Yuri has saved the Happy.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
unluckily lucky. It's a very interesting matchup.
Look in tournament chat. Yeah.
That's not even enough to describe half the things that happened this game.
It's a good representation of the mental state.
Well, that's a nice board. Should consider looking how to.
Yeah, if you look in community playmats, there's a lot of ones. We have an entire chat of people just making playmats. There's also was a pinned like grouping of a bunch of them. I think that one though is specifically in the picture plugin. Pretty much there's a bunch of files that we all agreed to group together. It's why if you look, a lot of people have profile pictures, but you don't, to me, is because everyone else downloaded the resource pack. If you don't have the resource pack, you're not able to see these things. So I'm just.
Where do I get this resource pack?
So like this is what I see for people's pictures. So most people have one. Pretty much it's just a bunch of pictures, and then you have to drag them into the right spots in your Lackey folder. I have not done it in years, but here's the download.
Yeah, I think I know where to drag it as well.
Yep. And then once you restart Lackey, you'll be able to see people's PFPs. And you can select a PFP from any of the ones in that folder, and everyone else will be able to see it.
Oh, it's that Ryoma deploy.
Are we Ryoma deploying by tapping our non-pro mode Oboro?
Oh no.
Yeah. Yes.
We are. Now,
Obero's
even
tap?
if we mill Oboro on these attacks, we don't... To deploy Automaton, at least swing with Ryoma first in case you draw into something good.
So Ryoma has a skill that lets him draw if you swing and you have 3 or less cards in hand. So usually doing that first would be better for 2 reasons. 1, if you promo the Oboro, it's now in retreat and you can class change Oboro. 2, you get to draw first and you might have drawn something good.
Like that.
Like...
Oh, well, that wouldn't have been on top of the deck, but... Like, for example, Korin Mail 6/5.
Yeah, that Korin Mail 6/5 would have been on top of their deck, so if Ryoma swung, they would have drawn Korin, and then been able to...
No, you would have supported Korin.
Oh. Yeah, right. It would have been this one.
Auto. And would have drawn... Oh, Automaton. Oh, okay.
Okay, it's fine, it's fine. It's the auto. And then...
No, you don't understand. We can deploy 2 automatons. They can do that.
Oh,
there was a happy dodge.
Cooked.
There was the happy dodge.
Please, are you going to notice Ryoma's 3rd skill?
Wow.
It is mandatory.
Yeah, but by the way I do it is if they miss timing, they miss the timing.
I don't think they're going to notice because they're so...
They didn't notice.
Oh.
No. Yurtz.
Notice.
Yurtz did draw a card.
Oh, yeah, cool. They did. Cool. Good. We're good. Uh, so they're gonna happy both these things away.
Uh, hopefully you can
Dang.
clear the Ryoma, but
But at the same
Yeah.
time, if you happy the Ryoma away, it might do the exact same thing.
what, bounce the Ryoma on the bet that Yurtz is going to perform the same play again and as a result prevent himself from promoting?
Yes!
Oh, cool. Ultimate gets to draw a card off of Dimitri against Oboro as no promo Yuri.
Most of these sentences we're saying are things that are never supposed to happen.
Ultimate knows what all three of his orbs are.
Yep. Yep.
If one of those is promo, that's gotta be mildly excruciating.
But it's also fine, because that means you know you're getting promo, like, the next time you get hit.
So true.
What the fuck is this game? Alright. So the real question is, does Dimitri kill Ryoma, or does Happy bounce Ryoma? Okay, that's just the draw. Dimitri can draw a card if you're ahead in orbs.
Yep. There's the Dimitri swing.
Yep, so they're just gonna go face on all of this, I think. Do they have no dodge, at least so far?
Yep.
They'll take the hit.
And that is going to... Yup. Like clockwork.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Do you know what would be really, really funny? If they activated Sothis CP.
Presumably you would have done that sooner, but
Presumably you would have done it before the Dimitri swung, but it would be so funny if they Sothis CP here to make it so their 40 base non-promo Yuri can hit Oboro more
Except-
consistently.
now, ironically, Happy just is better off.
Happy swinging.
Just-
Happy should swing. Everything should
Happy
just swing
swings here.
face.
You can clear auto here, and it wouldn't be terrible, but Yurtz is one orb, so you probably just try and pressure face. Because frankly, auto doesn't have the stats to hit anything here except Yuri. Which, if Yurtz is like perfect hand to retaliate, he's probably dead because he wouldn't have enough dodges in that case.
Yeah.
I believe I've done this correctly.
Alright. Oh, come on, Ultimate. You know their hand is shit. You know their retreat is shit. Just swing face. There you go.
Alright. And Kildori support.
Maybe? No, I'm thinking it's going to be the Oboro main promo.
Tsukana.
Reminder that promo has still not been milled. With 13 cards left in deck.
Yeah. Dodge, there we go.
Okay, it was in the orb that was just taken by Dimitri. And we shuffle retreat for fun. And now we just
Hey,
punch the
there's
opponent in the
also
face.
the Yuri CP.
There's the Yuri promo.
Okay. But does Oboro live this turn. Oboro could just oh no, they could have dodged the Dimitri. They misread.
Yeah, could have happened.
So they misread Dimitri and didn't realize his on-hit skill.
And we are shuffling our retreat again for fun.
It has to be shuffled. You need to search for main promo in retreat.
Lysithea selves, and there's the third Oboro.
And honestly, this attack, I would say, should still be on face, but on automation still works because that means if they have a Ryoma in hand, they don't have tap fodder
Yep.
on board. But at this point, I'm expecting the automation dodge. Okay.
Yeah. Oboro specifically evading there, and you only, at best, breaking Oboro's last orb. I understand in that situation why you would go auto there, because it prevents Yurtz from having one more card in hand, and you know you can't kill him anymore.
Yep. And now they're going to Cynthia draw. Yep.
No, it should be virtually impossible for Yurtz to land a killing blow here. You need a very perfect hand to even come remotely close. And I still don't even know if it's possible.
1 sec.
But
Yurtz. Yurtz accidentally drew 2 times because they drew when they went to the end phase, and then drew again once the turn actually transferred over. Just because when things are like end of turn skills are happening.
oh no.
Because when end of turn skills are happening, usually your opponent will start taking their start of turn. This is just usually speeding up things, but in this case, they accidentally drew a second card, which is illegal, for obvious reasons.
Yes.
Micaiah set 12, or like when X-Ike is a thing, I'll pass turn and then start doing my Micaiah set 12, which just growths Ike twice more, just to speed up the game. Let my opponent start doing their stuff while I'm doing my cleanup.
Yep. The theoretical play for Oboro right now is ideal scenario is Ryoma. That is not Ryoma.
No.
And we also bonded sets in a 1.
But they get a draw 6. They get a draw 6 now. It's an even number.
This is true.
So, yeah. Draw 6, kill Dimitri, kill Happy or Lysithea? I would have to say Lysithea, personally. Okay, we're countering our... there we go.
Presumably misclicked, because I believe, at least trying to off the top of my head. 1, 2, 3, 4.
You gotta flip 2 more for that.
I assume we just accidentally hit counter button.
Yeah.
Now I wonder if Yurtz is playing on a laptop with a trackpad. I have been there, if such is the case. It's why when I set up the jury rig laptop setup that I'm using now, I do actually have a mouse plugged into it.
Yeah.
I despise using a trackpad.
Yeah, using the mouse makes Lackey a lot better. It's why I mentioned, Tabletop Simulator has a barrier of entry of, $30. Lackey has a barrier of entry of a $5 mouse. I swear I've seen Yurtz play and it wasn't nearly like this. Weird. Something
I
just feels
assume
off.
it has been a long day and
Yeah.
Yurtz is very tired. And the state of the game that it has been going has probably not helped matters in the slightest.
No, I think they're very frustrated with everything that happened.
And understandably so, frankly.
Yes. This is about as unfortunate as it could have gotten for Yurtz.
Meanwhile, I've discovered a whole new world with these avatars. Okay, what'd I miss? Hmm.
Okay. I mean, yeah, it ain't moving at the moment. It's just one of those interesting things.
Oh, good heavens.
In 2 hours? Wonder what's going on.
I'm not sure. It's this has been an interesting day.
So there's counters on bonds.
We have counters on bonds. Technically, they drew 2 extra cards, or they didn't flip enough bonds. They have to put their main Oboro on board. Those are the 3 things.
Yeah, they haven't promoted yet.
And we have a third chair.
And a third chair.
Yeah, third chair. That's where the sanity is sitting.
Wonder if you sit in the third chair, can you see the retreats?
Yes.
Yes.
Actually, not at the moment, because retreat would not be available to anyone that sits down after their deck was loaded.
Oh, yeah. They do not have perms for that.
Pretty much when you hit reveal to all, how it works is it goes through all the people currently sitting in the game and hits reveal to you, reveal to you, reveal to you. So if we were to sit down, we would have not been hit by that check. Just one of these things that you learn after years.
Wonder if it's worth doing that for the commentary recordings.
I might do that. Do that for Top Cut.
Uh,
But for these ones, not so much, because Top Cut I might also stream on Twitch or anything, just because why not? But most of the time, people, if they want to watch, just watch through Lackey or watch through Discord screen shares. I was under the impression that Oboro wanted to care about A being white bonds.
not sure what that means.
I mean, yes, she wants white bonds because her main promo.
I like how Ultimate is peeking at all of the cards to make sure they're all white now that this is being brought up.
Yeah.
Yes, because you can only CC using Oboro 4-3 by flipping a white.
I
We already had one person fuck up their game by not knowing that was a thing. Tiro messed it up.
Oh. GG.
What happened?
Ultimate, you do not say, "Are you sure?" in these situations. If someone is giving you the win, it is because they're upset and want to be done with this. Leave them be.
Yeah. Yeah, this is one of the most unfortunate games of Cipher I've seen. Um,
It sure has been a roller coaster of emotions. Mostly going down.
uh, I, yeah, this is
It's been
just
rough.
unfortunate. Anyway,
Unfortunate.
I'm going to stop recording.